Hello everyone and welcome to the Round Glass Review for the Asahi Super-multi-coated Fish-eye Takumar 6x7 35mm f4.5. What a name. Let's take that apart a little bit. It was made by Asahi Optical Company. This has the Super multi-coating system. It is a fisheye lens, which means that it will wildly distort the world around it. It is also, by the way, a full frame fisheye, so it will cover the entire 6x7 negative, which is where that comes from, and it's a 35mm focal length with an f4.5 maximum aperture. Asahi released this lens in 1971. This lens replaced the previous version of it, which was released in 1969 and was only produced for 2 years. This lens in this iteration was produced for 18 years until 1989, and then it was replaced by the SMC version of this lens, which had the rubber grip. All three variants of this lens used the exact same optical formula. The only difference between them was the grip type and the coatings. Typical lens uses include extreme wide-angle shots where straight lines are not needed at all. With this lens, you're not going to get them except with some very specific lens arrangements. A typical use for this lens will be landscapes, and as long as you align the horizon along the image center and have the camera level, you can in that case minimize the apparent distortion within your landscape images. Uses of this lens at the time it was released that would not be common today include the focus on using the filters for things like cloud and sky studies and other similar meteorological tasks. For your bottom line up front, this is not a lens to buy unless you want to shoot fisheye photos on the native format. This is the softest 6x7 lens I've ever used, and it does not hold up on anything smaller than 6x7. As a full-frame lens, for those of you here wondering about this, it is a nearly 1 kilogram monster with no front element protection, a slow aperture speed, and exactly 0 benefits over much smaller, cheaper, and better full-frame 35mm focal length options. This is a lens for the Pentax 6x7 system user, and any smaller format is just not the right place for it. That includes GFX. And one last thing, as a fun fact, this variant of this lens is estimated to have had only around 5,200 copies produced in the 18-year production run. Your focal length and angle of view are 35mm and 180 degrees with full negative coverage on 6x7. The aperture range is 4.5 through 22. Element and group count are 11 and 7. Design type is a retro-focus fisheye. The filter size is 4 internal filters and a rear gel filter clip of approximately 40mm. The 4 internal filters are UV, yellow, orange, and red. They are part of the optical design, so you will use at least one of those anytime you're using this lens. The closest focus is 0.45 meters, which in the US is the 7-point size font string of expletives I blasted out. When I saw that for like the 14th time this year, I had to figure out some ridiculous thing that was again 0.45 meters long. This is a manual focus only lens for the Pentax 67 system. The dimensions are 102mm by 73mm, and it weighs a very, very solid 900 grams. My first tip is to relegate this for 6x7 format film photos. Ideally use black and white film because this lens really does perform the best there. The built-in filters also allow for a lot of contrast control. Related to the filters, even the yellow filter is quite strong, and orthochromatic films like the Ilford Ortho register almost no light when any of the filters in this lens are used. If you plan to shoot this with ortho film, plan to use only the UV filter and do some testing on how much of a filter factor to use with yellow. Orange and red are close enough to the filter colors on safe lights that they will almost certainly not work at all with ortho film. I certainly did not manage to get any images back when I tested the orange filter with ortho film. For any photo you make with this lens, you can minimize the distortion by having the horizon level. You can further minimize distortion by having scenes with even single subject magnification, which is to say that if you look at these 2 sample photos that I took on GFX in landscape orientation of the trolley and also of the stream and rocks, the stream photo appears to have far less distortion because no single object within the photo occupies the majority of the image. Next up, when you compose images with this lens, it is possible to craft your image to mask the distortion. Shooting infinity focus landscapes or placing subjects with curves and few straight lines outside of the image center will help create very wide scenes with limited perceptible distortion. When using this lens, be mindful of where the light is because your shadow can very easily end up in the frame, especially on the native format. Lastly, embrace the distortion this lens delivers and use it to exaggerate the scenes and your subjects. Fisheye lenses like this are not meant to create accurate representations of the world all the time, and the distortion can be used to create captivating images. So this analysis is being done with a GFX format image, and we're definitely not getting the full view of the entire image circle, but we'll do what we can with what we've got. These first test shots are of fairy lights with the lens first at infinity focus, where we see a general softness with illumination being even enough to consider this lens well corrected for spherical and chromatic aberrations across the color channels. Going to the closest focus point with the same lights, however, the lens's image character changes dramatically. Lights behind the closest focus point, when the lens is wide open, show strong spherical aberration overcorrection that may be more apparent on digital than film, especially with the post-processing adjustments I make to images in this series to amplify the flaws that the lenses deliver. There is also some slight spherical aberration undercorrection in those same lights, which is kind of weird to say, but you can tell that because the cores of the lights are slightly brighter than the margins between the cores and the perimeters. So ultimately, unless you're really taxing this lens's image output with post-processing, you're not likely to notice any issues with the spherical aberrations on this lens. Going to the dots test chart and the full GFX image of it, we see a lot of distortion, even on the GFX format. And we also see some serious and perceptible projection blur and very slight chromatic aberrations in the dots away from the image center. Now, this type of blur is new in this series, and I've not seen a lens that projects teardrop-shaped blur patterns before. In the center at 100%, we see that the screen is rendered accurately, though it is very soft. This may be the softest in-focus image rendering we've seen so far in this video series. This is not a lens that survives scrutiny when images are cropped to smaller than 6x7. Going around the corners, we see the distortion and teardrop shapes are uniform and even, which is quite a good performance given this lens's age, design, in the specific case that this lens was shipped to me from Japan, and so clearly it wasn't bumped hard enough to cause any image decentering issues. Aside from the substantial softness this lens imparts into images versus other fisheye lenses, this performance is quite good. Also, let's not be too judgy on this lens for the softness in these images, as there were significant design and production limitations placed on lenses of this lens's era that made it very hard to deliver something that performed better than this, at least for any kind of reasonable cost. Sharpness, by today's standards, is very soft, but judging an old lens against what we expect today is as silly as judging a horse-drawn carriage harshly because it would lose in a drag race to a Ford Mustang, even a Ford Mustang with an EcoBoost engine, maybe. So just plan not to crop your images, and you will probably have a better time with it. Build quality is spectacular because this was a professional tier medium format lens made by Asahi in the 70s and 80s when everything was made of milled metal. Contrast is highly controllable with the in-lens filters, and the yellow filter for black and white film adds a very, very nice darkness to the skies that is not overbearing. Aperture stars were tested on the GFX 50S2 to capture as much of the image circle as we could. The performance extending beyond the GFX area can reasonably be expected to be in kind with these, and I will include a full-frame film photo at the end of this little blurb for verification. Stars start to form at f8, and then are relatively uniform in quality through f22. The stars don't get much larger or much more well-defined, which makes this lens quite good for overnight scenes with source point lights such as cityscapes. In full sun, the sun can deliver a very nice star shape as well. Out of focus areas can be achieved with the closest focus point and a wide aperture. By retrofocus lens design standards, they're pretty good and don't, to me, interfere with the image. Distortion is strong and not meant to be controlled at all. In real-world use, distortion is amplified by tilting the camera up or down. Also, shooting in portrait orientation for landscapes can minimize apparent distortion if you keep your camera level, because the part of the image area with the greatest distortion will be in the clouds and the foreground, and that can mask the amount of image warping. Light loss was tested on GFX, and we can assume that the performance here will extend when the full image area is used on 6x7. Honestly, by fisheye standards, not bad. Flare is surprisingly well controlled, and none of the images that I took displayed a noticeable flare. Ghosting is also, for the standards of the day and this lens type, very well controlled. It will appear with a very bright light in your frame when you stop down the lens, but it's minimal by 70s era retrofocus lens design standards. Balance with cameras on the 6x7 cameras is good because those cameras are very heavy. On GFX or full frame with an adapter, this lens is too front heavy and it will point toward the ground. So watch out that you don't lose your lens cap if you're using it that way, because it will fall off. Also, plan to carry this lens and your camera in your hand and also with a shoulder strap to provide the most protection you can. The Super-multi-coated Fish-eye Takumar 6x7 35mm f4.5 is a shockingly good lens when looking at the full image on a 6x7 photo and composing scenes for which this lens is well designed. As a landscape lens, you can use this to capture expansive and wide vistas that show a wide and captivating view of a scene. However, seeing this lens as a one-trick pony for that is a bit unfair to it. I like it for close-up shots that embrace the lens's distortion to create scenes of intentionally uncomfortable proportions. But this lens is not for everyone. The distortions do make it hard to use. The exposed and enormous glass front make using it a constant risk of damage that would lead to significant image quality reductions or worse were it dropped. This is a lens that requires as much care in handling as it does in image creation. If it is one that fits your needs and image aesthetic, it can be a unique and capable tool. But if you are not a 6x7 film shooter and you are looking for a wide-angle medium format lens for anything digital, this is not your choice and will likely leave you disappointed. Hey, and if you enjoyed this video, check out this other one you'll probably really like too.